Hello, and welcome back to our Social Capital series. In this session, I have a career conversation with Jailene Carrasco. Jailene is a Mercy alumna and a current graduate student in our mental health counseling program. In this recording, she talks to me about her career journey to date and shares some real stories about how she successfully used her social capital to advance her career. One of my favorite moments from this chat was learning about an interview that Jailene nailed so perfectly that the interviewer chased her down before she even got to her car to make her a job offer. I'm not surprised. I felt similarly after interviewing Jailene to work with us, but it was so fun hearing this story and all of the wonderful wisdom that Jailene has to offer. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. This session is being offered as part of our Fall 2024 Career Academy series. Today, I'm here to introduce you to the topic of social capital. Throughout the rest of the series, you'll hear stories from members of the career team at Mercy about how their social capital helped them achieve milestones in their careers. We all know firsthand how important connections are when it comes to career success, and I can't wait for you to hear some of these wonderful stories that we have to share with you. After you watch a Career Academy session, make sure you take the quiz on our website to earn your credit for that session. If you watch at least 4 sessions and submit those quizzes, you'll earn a digital badge at the end of the semester that you can list on your resume and share on LinkedIn if you wish. All badge earners will be entered into our iPad raffle, and we'll draw that name the week of December 9th, so get those quizzes in by December 5th if you want to be included in the raffle. Hello there, and welcome to a conversation with the career team. My name is Lynn Leese. I am the Director of Career Education here at Mercy University, and today I have the privilege of speaking with one of our team members, Jailene Carrasco, about how relationships and building connections helped her along her career journey. So welcome, Jailene. Would you introduce yourselves for folks following along?
Yeah, so hi everyone. So everybody already knows, my name is Jailene Carrasco, and I am just one of the career counselors here on our career and professional development team. What I mostly do is just help students related to the human service, government, law, and education community. And, anything you can think of career related, we talk about that career exploration, resume building, maybe questions on how to build, networking, or just want to have a nice conversation of your future and goals. We do all of it. And I also support on Handshake and support the team with any other types of tasks that we may need related to all of you.
Awesome. And I would say, I know you were just introducing yourself, but I wouldn't say just a career counselor. All of the folks on our team are so important to helping students along their journey. And, I'm hoping if there's a takeaway for students watching this series, also it's all of the people that are here to help have these conversations, help you figure out your path and kind of the experiences we've had to get ourselves here too. So happy to have you. Can you also just briefly share a little bit about your journey that brought you to Mercy? So how the background of your career before you got here.
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually a Mercy alumni. I like to say I'm a Mercy alumni transfer because I actually transferred to Mercy back when it was called Mercy College. And one of the things that really brought me to Mercy was the sense of community and also the sense of independency, right? Because I think that was also important to me is to be independent. But at the same time, being independent also means you need the help of others and the support of others to learn to do that. And Mercy off the bat just was great. The community, even being a commuter, right? That's what brought me to Mercy. It was, I'm a commuter, but I still belong somewhere. And it was also fun just to make connections within, my major because I actually came in as a psychology major. So that was wonderful. Wonderful experience, wonderful program. All my peers, they were lovely, never felt like I couldn't ask somebody for help. And I think that's the part of a college experience is being able to seek the support and receive it. So that's what attracted me to Mercy.
That's amazing. And so you graduated Mercy, and I just so much of that resonated with me already too. I didn't go here as a student, but as a staff member, I've had a very similar experience, and I think that's a common thing that students tell us as well. So you graduate Mercy, and then tell us a little bit about the work experience you had in the middle grad program, kind of where you're at there.
Yeah, so actually, during my time in undergrad, before I graduated, I had a little bit of experience. It wasn't that much into psychology, but I was actually a respite caretaker slash community habilitation worker. And my role really was just, going to the household of a lot of children with disabilities or children with limitations and helping them with daily tasks, emotional well being, and just planning out basically their activities on a weekly basis. And that really opened me up to social work and, the human service field more. So to me, graduating from Mercy, I was like, okay, I really want to do something in this realm. And it was going to be the realm of working with children. That was the population I wanted to do. And I actually came to the career service.
Love that.
Yeah, so I actually came because I struggled a lot with my resume. Struggled a lot with my resume, didn't know if the little amount of job that I had done on the side was even relevant to this field. Because a lot of people would think, oh, it's more of a babysitting role versus something in psychology. So, just having that conversation with somebody really opened my eyes that no, I was doing casework. I was documenting, I was helping with their, emotional, psychosocial development. And that made me feel a little better about myself in the places that I wanted to actually apply for. And from undergrad, like I just started making connections with professors and talking to, what it took to be in that realm because I don't think I really understood it. I think for me, it was more of everything is new. I don't really know where I'm going to go, and it's going to be a new chapter in my life. And I was a little scared of that. So I actually found that a lot of professors told me to try out something in social work and that would open doors and it would actually help me understand different realms in psychology, such as mental health, school counseling, career education, education in general, right? And also family and a little bit of sociology. So that's a lot right there
Yeah.
for somebody, right?
Yeah.
So my homework was already made up for me. And through those conversations, I've also met peers that were applying to certain places as well. And that's how I ended up as being a case planner. I applied before graduating. Actually, I still remember it. I applied in April, very early. I started off, applied in April. I even started making my connections off the bat of who were the professors that I've seen throughout, my whole 3 years at Mercy. Who were they? Who were the professors that I've really had a connection with and PAC mentors too, right? Who were those PAC mentors? And I told myself, okay, these are going to be the set of people that I want to reach out for a recommendation letter if I were to be asked. And that really helped me because they also asked me tough questions of myself. They were like, what are your skill sets going into this? And even just building that report off the bat helped me and helped them just know who I am as an individual, but also be like, this is somebody that's going to represent me going into this field in the hiring process because you're going to need that support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, and there's so much in there I can see, students identifying with, right? I think sort of not understanding where to take that career path, not knowing what the field actually feels like. Um, you know, it's very scary to enter the workforce in general if you really haven't been in it at all. So I can see so many ways that you building these relationships and really having people in your corner that just even to ask questions, right? Was so valuable. So you started case plan and also applying early, right? Was absolutely the right way to go. So you did some work as a case planner. And then where did you go from there?
So with case planning, I didn't completely hate it, but I didn't completely love it. There were just some things, I guess, morally values that come up, especially throughout your career journey, that people don't talk about, I think. And that's, do you love what you're doing and does that connect with your values?
Mhm.
And is the work you're doing on a daily basis, is it rewarding? And I felt like a lot of my own answers to those questions were yes and no,
Mhm.
right? So off the bat, here I was again, in the summer, and I was like, I don't want to be here longer than what I want to. And I think that's a scary feeling, especially graduating, because a lot of people tell you, hey, once you graduate, if you find your first job, you're one of those lucky students, because not everybody does. So it's a scary feeling of saying, I need to leave, because it's not the right career path for me. And I will say from that experience, I did learn to build more connections. And I also learned to utilize my own, employment to network. So I remember I actually sat down with a couple of my team members, and they were actually licensed social workers, licensed mental health counselors, and I love their responsibilities more than what I thought I did of
Mm.
my own. And I said, this is where I want to go. So I asked them, like, hey, how did you get here? Like, what do I have to do? And they told me, first step, grad school. Next step, permit, licensure. From there, endless opportunities. And I said, okay. So I started looking into grad schools and I knew Mercy had to be one of them. So I was like, I'm going to go back to Mercy. That's my, safe zone. But it's also, I've built a community there that I was like, I want to continue growing in that same community that helped me get my first employment too. And that's how I started with my next step of a career. And also, I wanted to leave. So I was a little bit in the midst of what do I do? I had actually developed connections from my prior college, and it was peer connections. And my friend, her name is Lydia, she was also in the same path of she switched careers. So she wanted to be a social worker as well, and then she switched careers into career counseling. That's how I actually came to know what career counseling was. And she worked for this organization. It involved more vocational counseling, especially with students who probably dropped out of high school or didn't get a chance to complete their high school education requirements. So the goal was help them get, their high school equivalency, GED, and then help them get certifications to go into a trade. And hopefully, college would be the next step, right? So I talked to her a little bit about what she was doing. And to my surprise, she said, my job is actually hiring. She said, this is the website, go ahead and apply. This is how the interview process went for me. So I'm pretty sure it'll be the similar process for you. This is our values. This is our mission statement. This is the responsibilities you would do day to day. So off the bat, it kind of made me feel confident, like I'm going to apply, of course. And I was like, I'm going to apply. I'm going to give it a try. And just having her as a connection helped a lot because she helped me see what the role was of a career counselor in that organization. So I applied, and I tell this story to a lot of people, right? I applied that same week, I get an interview the same week, right? And the interview went great. I thought it went great, but somewhere along the lines, it ended kind of within 20 to 30 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, was that a good thing? It's like, I don't know. So as
Right.
I'm walking out of the building, the employer, she starts running behind me and she's like, wait, come back. And I'm like, oh, I was like, did I forget something? And she goes, I need to give you a job offer today. And that's how my story goes with that. And she said, she's like, I didn't want you to go, but I also didn't want you to stay. And then I didn't get approval to give you a job offer the same day without my director's permission.
I'm sorry,
So
you
that's how
got
that,
literally chased down after an interview.
yes, I literally got chased down.
Okay, how many people could say that?
I literally got chased down. And
Wow.
yeah. So I always tell people because even I couldn't believe it that I got like a job offer right there.
Yeah.
And everything happened within a week, right? And I tell people, I think what helped me not only having somebody already in the place who could, give me a great reference, but I think it was also knowing that organization,
Mm.
right? From a different set of eyes. And that was from my peer. And she was able to really tell me what this organization stood for and what the role was. And I think that was important for me to understand because it was like, if I didn't like the role, then why apply for it?
Right.
Maybe I wouldn't want to, right? But she told me about the role, fell in love with the role. And I think my passion for wanting to have that position resonated with me in the interview process because in the interview process, everything went so smooth.
There's so much I love about this story, and like from the beginning of, I was a transfer student and I had these connections from my last institution, right? Because I feel like sometimes when you're making a transition of any kind that includes, leaving one school, going to another school, when you're leaving and going into the workforce, it can feel sometimes like you're leaving things behind, right? And now I'm here and I'm starting fresh and everything is new, and you carrying with you, right, these connections and those skills and everything that you built at that last institution, it all stays with you. And so I think you realizing that you can tap into your whole network, right? Who do I know? And and that peer connection is so powerful. I know that's really powerful here at Mercy too. Um, so I love that that's where that started. And then literally this is an example of how connections can help you. It's like every single example in one story, right? It's like
Yeah.
giving you the insight into what it's like to work there, giving you insight into exactly what the interview process will be like and what they'll probably ask you about, so you could be the most prepared you possibly could be. And then I can't tell you how many times, we can never guarantee this happens, but you just reach out for a conversation and someone says, well, actually, I know someone who's hiring. And while you can't walk into the conversation expecting that, it's not an uncommon occurrence, right? So I this is such an incredible story. I love these chats because these are the first times I'm hearing some of these stories, even about people that I work with every single day. So I love this for you. I'm obsessed with the fact that somebody just ran out of the building and tracked you down before you even left. But I think that's such a testament both to you and how you present yourself, right? I mean, you are so passionate and so well spoken about, the field and what you bring to the table, but also, that power of having somebody in your corner. Yeah, just such an amazing story.
Yes, and I will say, starting off as a college student, it is scary because you don't know who's willing to support you. I
Mm.
think that's the scary feeling. But one thing, I guess, this is just my personality, and I think it's the best advice I can give to students who are, building their career, and that's, you know, be helpful, right? To any person that you meet, be helpful, be very friendly. Don't be afraid to start up that conversation. And the reason I say that is because I can't tell you even now how many peers I've met, and they're probably in wonderful organizations, or they're probably needing advice, or I learned so much more from them as well, right? So I feel like it's very scary, and you think that maybe in your own inner circle it's not worth it to talk to somebody or to make that first contact. Trust me, I feel like a lot of the things that I've been able to earn has been through a connection,
Mm.
or has been through me just asking a simple question, and is, how did you get there? What can I do to get there? Because I think that's powerful. I think once someone goes into a place where they feel fulfillment, they're willing to share that story with you. And I've seen it through faculty, through staff, through friends, even acquaintances. Like, trust me, they're willing to help you out. You just have to ask them, or, just say hello.
And I think you are such a specifically outgoing person, but have you ever had those moments where you're thinking, I really want to ask this person questions or like make a connection with this person, but I am kind of afraid that I might be bothering them or I don't know what the answer is going to be. And so this is a little nerve-wracking. And if so, how do you overcome that?
So I had, a couple of instances. And I think it's also been through my own employment.
Mm,
Um, you know, it's a hard question sometimes even to ask people like, you know, I want to do X, Y, and Z, like I want to be part of a project or I want to be more involved because I think the biggest fear is being told no.
mm,
And that feels like it closes doors. But I like to think of it as if I don't ask, then that's a no in itself, right? Um, I remember when I was a case planner and I didn't have a full staff and I was like, oh my God, like I can't do all of this work that it takes, 5 members to be in one. And even asking for more help or even asking, to be trained in something, that was going to benefit me. I was afraid to ask because I was like, oh, well, I'm new to this position. Who's going to say yes to me? And I realized that my fear was the one that was keeping me away from opportunities, and I think I still see it still to this day where I feel like my fear keeps me away. So I tell myself, if you don't ask, that's already a no in itself. If you ask and the answer is yes, more to you, right? Because now you have more opportunities. You have more opportunities for training, to meet new people, to be on projects, to, continue doing what you love doing. And if the answer is no, right, it's not the end of the world because I think there's also a reason for the no. And I think you have to also learn the reason behind it. I'm a big believer in if somebody tells me no, why was that reason? Right? Was it that I didn't have enough experience? Was it that I probably lacked something in my own skill sets? Or was it that it wasn't the right time?
mm,
Right? Because that can be it too. It's not the right time. And sometimes we also have to accept that and be like, maybe in a month from now, in a week from now, in a day from now, who knows?
mm.
It's still gonna work out for you. It just takes time.
It's so true, and there are a lot of places in this process where something it like legitimately is in our way, but I think there are definitely times when we almost get in our own way, right? With the fear of it, and more often than not, and if identifying who to ask, I think is a big part of the process, but more often than not, people are willing to talk to you, and even if they're not angry that you asked, right? It's maybe they just can't today. That's exactly your point, or maybe that's just not the right person. But um, there's no harm. There's never any harm in asking, and I think that's hard sometimes for people to get into. But clearly, you are doing such an incredible job of it. I want to fast forward a little bit. So I know at this point in the story here, you're at this vocational counseling job, and just sort of fast forwarding to get to another really great part of the story. You come to work for Mercy. That vocational training background gives you both the Mercy experience as a student and that vocational training, and then you enroll in your master's program here as well, and that all sort of gives you the credentials that we were looking for to come here and work with for us as a career counselor. And then it's time to do your graduate in practicum and internship as part of your program. And I know you similarly were so good at kind of exercising connections to find that internship. So I'd love for you to tell that story a little too.
Yes. So it was actually difficult because I was in a place where I really wanted an internship, but I wasn't getting responses. Right. So the applications were already sent. I wasn't getting responses. And I tell people always have your top priorities of an internship or an employer that you want. Right. Because if you have those priorities, you're going to want it more than the next person. Trust me. And I was like, I really want these 3 employers, was not hearing back from anybody. And I was like, okay. So, as I do best, right? I'm a talker, I'm a social butterfly in my own program. And I'm like, oh, like, what internship are you in? Or where are you applying? Was that application hard for you? Getting the scope of things because I'm pretty sure someone else is struggling. So if I can give them advice, they can give me advice. It so happened that I was taking a class, it was via Zoom, and we were all having a conversation of the topic was, what is one challenge that you were having this week, or how was your week going? The topic of conversation was internship. We don't know where to go. So I'm here boasting about this one internship site, which is NYPCC. And I was like, oh my God, like they're such a great site. Like I really want them, but I can't seem to go into, and I'm really boasting about this organization. I'm telling people, apply, apply, apply. I've heard great things. I've heard other Mercy students go into it, but it's very hard. Little to my surprise, there was somebody who actually worked for the organization, and he goes, I work there. And I'm like, no, I don't, but thank you for saying. And he's like, I did not know that you knew so much about our organization. And I think he was so surprised by the things I knew that he said, I'm going to give you my email me, and I'm going to send it out, your application, to the right people. And I go, are you okay with that? Like, is that the process? He's like, email it to me. Regardless, I'm going to see it, just email it to me. I'm like, okay. I was hesitant at first because I was like, I don't know if I want to ask for a favor right off the bat. And I don't know if I wanted to, you know, make somebody get out of their way to put in a good word for me, or to just even have my resume be looked to somebody. So
I'm sorry, did you know this person already from classes, or was this the first time that you're having this conversation with this person?
He's somebody that I've known for a while from different classes. We would just talk like friendly conversations about coursework, about classes, about mental health in general. We would just have those friendly conversations. We never met in person. So that's another funny thing. Never met this person.
All online classes at this point.
Only online classes, yeah. And it was always, I always tell students too, like, you don't always have to be in the spotlight, but if you get a chance to talk to somebody and really talk about yourself and who you are as an individual, take it, because you don't know who you're talking to. And I think this is what happened to me. I didn't know who I was talking to. And when I finally sent my resume to him, he sent it to the director of the place, the hiring managers. The same thing that happened to me with my other employment. Within that first week, I heard back. And the conversation was like, how do you know this person as well? Have you worked with this person? What is your working style? What is your personality? Why are you motivated to come here? And I realized they were asking not only because they wanted to know who I was, but also they were asking to see, my work ethic. I think that's very important. And to my surprise, they made it kind of seem like I was going to get the opportunity. I really think that it was more of following up with your references, making sure if what you're saying to us is true. Because I think sometimes as a candidate, when you're applying to things, you can be the best candidate. And I think employers are hesitant on that too, because there's 5 other best candidates just like you. Who are we going to pick? And they're going to always verify with recommenders, references, people that people that recommended you the job, to make sure that the story aligns and to make sure that you're going to be a great addition to their organization. But to cut the story short, I ended up getting the offer. And I ended up finding out that this person was very well known in the organization, had his pictures everywhere. Everybody talks very highly of him and everything. And I was very grateful for that opportunity. And I'm grateful to be able to had that opportunity, even if it was in a class, to talk about my interests, because it landed me my internship, where I was getting no responses from people, to just that one connection made it a smoother process overall.
That's amazing. And I think there's so much that's so powerful about this story, right? And we talk to students about, it's not just about making the connection. The connection is so important, meeting people in the field, having these conversations, but there is this component of it about kind of your reputation, or how that person knows you, that you're asking this favor of, right? Because ultimately, if you're building a community around you of people who you might want to ask favors, and vice versa. They might want to ask you a favor in the future. And you're going to go say to somebody that you know, hey, this person is great. You're putting your own self on the line a little bit there. And if that doesn't go well, then you might lose that connection. They might not trust your next recommendation. So it's not just about knowing somebody, but it's about kind of showing them who you are and that you're a trustworthy person to make a connection for. And so that's one of the things I love about this story is that pre understanding how that person could help you, you were making this relationship. You were having this kind of peer-to-peer relationship building between you, and he got a chance to understand who you were in the classroom, what kind of a student you were, what you were interested in, what you were passionate about. So when the time came, we don't know, we'll never know if anybody else had said, I'm really interested in working with this organization, if he would have spoken up, right? He might have. He might be just a really nice guy who's willing to help out any student that he's in the classroom with, which would be great, but we don't know if that's just something he wanted to help any student with, or if he just really had a sense that you were a responsible person. And so I think you proving yourself ahead of time, right? And then being ready to take advantage of an opportunity when it was in front of you, it just shines through so strong in this story.
Yeah, which is very true. I'm a big believer in impressions as well. So I don't know if it's because, it's also kind of like whenever I go to class, right? I just act a different way too than I would if I'm among friends. And I think that's important to know that certain time and place, you have to act differently. And I've always took class, I guess, seriously. I don't know, people always say that I'm a little crazy in school, but they're like, you're very a go-getter. Like you sit in class, you're attentive, you participate. And even when I communicate to certain people, I make sure that that comes across. Because when I got my internship and I was actually in the onboarding process, right, and we were just having trainings, I actually met the director of the clinic and she remembered me. She goes, I know who you are. And she's like, you're very punctual. And I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yes, you're very punctual. And she's like, you remind me of this colleague that I work with because they're always thinking ahead of time. And we've had a whole bunch of conversations about what you would love to see here. And I said, yes, because I'm very transparent and I want to make sure that my experience is the way I want it to, but also what are you willing to, compromise with me and, what are we willing to do together collaboratively? Because I do believe in that. It's not only about what an employer wants, it's what a candidate wants and how are the two people going to come together to make a good outcome of it. So I continue to do that, even if it's something that I don't want to talk about. It's going to be about my performance appraisal. I try my best because if they see I can grow, I think that talks 10 times more than somebody who might not want to have those conversations or might not want to accept feedback. So it speaks a lot. It's a scary feeling having somebody talk about you, but there's a point. I think it's a good thing when people talk about you because that means you're doing good. You need improvement, but you are doing good.
Having your name in somebody else's ear is never, I mean, it can be a bad thing. We'll say that, but usually, right? That's part of how you're building a brand. If nobody hears your name, then where are you going to go? And I think also I just wanted to touch on I think you hit on something really important there too, which is sort of that idea of fit, which is so vague and hard for people to really understand, like, what is a fit? And I also think, story for another day, it's also been weaponized and used against folks. Like, not a good fit is an easy thing to say, but fit is very real, right? Having what a candidate needs out of their work environment and their manager and their team and what an employer needs, like, some things just honestly are not a good fit. And it doesn't mean that one party or the other is doing it wrong. It's just their needs are not coming together and what they can provide each other is not coming together. And so I think I liked you kind of describing it that way because it is a two-way street. And to make, to make sure that someone's going to stay at an organization for a while, which is an employer's ultimate goal. You want them to be happy and satisfied with the work that they're doing and provide the work that you need done. So that's, yeah, I just thought that was a really nice way if somebody's trying to sort of figure out, like, what does it mean to fit in an organization? That really is it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't fit in an organization, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think at one point, for some people, you just either outgrow that role or you kind of just find out that maybe that's not the work you're meant to do, right? And maybe you have other passions that you want to explore. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I just tell people just be very honest with yourself and be very honest within the work environment you're working. If you can make yourself fit and if you can make yourself be like, this is where I want to go. And if somebody is willing to give you the opportunity, I applaud you for that because, that was the biggest step you can take. And sometimes different experiences, different outcomes are going to seem super different for everybody, right? I've met so many people that probably struggled in the beginning of their experience of their career journey, and now they're doing great. Now they're doing amazing. Or there's, people who off the bat, they started off great, right? But to me, it's always been like, but how did you get there? And I think by having that conversation, you figure it out. It's they did X, Y, and Z to be able to get there. Even if one of those steps they failed at, you got there, right? And I tell myself that all the time because even I need work, and affirmation is very big for me. And I say, try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think Drew even told me that too this past week. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, off to the next,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, I think, all of these stories kind of on the journey of career and how you found different ways to identify people and then, talk to them, whether it was in it or out of your comfort zone, because it sounds like there have been times when it's both. And just the different ways, I think each of these stories just illuminates all the different ways that these relationships are so valuable. I think one of the most powerful things that you pointed out in there was, first of all, your resume and cover letter when you were sending out for internship had to be perfect, right? You were doing vocational counseling. You came and got the advice as a student. Now you're doing career work. I mean, you're literally advising on how to do these. So it's not about the application materials, right? But it was about you getting a recommendation, right? And we don't know who else in that pot is getting recommendations. So I think that skyrocketed you into really being able to get that position. So thank you for sharing all of this journey. You've given so much advice along the way, and I just want to ask you to wind it down. If there's anything you didn't cover, is there any little piece of advice that you didn't get to say yet that you would share with students who are thinking about how to go about, approaching relationships for their career?
I would definitely say don't miss out on an opportunity, even if it's scary. Don't miss out on it because at the end of the day, I don't think we all know the outcome of things and it takes trial and error. So just go for it. Even if it's a last minute decision, do it because I'm pretty sure it's going to lead you to something that you really want. And even if you're not sure what you want, it's okay to try because eventually you're going to figure it out. So, yeah.
Amazing. Jailene, thank you for your time today. Jailene Carrasco is a career counselor in career and professional development here at Mercy University. You can find her availability in Handshake. You can find her most days in the Westchester campus in Main Hall 247A. And as you can see, she's got all of this incredible wisdom to share with you, not only because we know it to be true from what others tell us, but because she's walked the walk and talked the talk and lived these experiences. And so I hope you'll come chat with her as well. But Jailene, again, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today. So incredible.
Thank you. Bye.
That's all for this session. Be sure to visit the Career Academy website to take your quiz and get credit for watching this session. I hope you ace it, but your score won't affect your attendance. You just need to submit the quiz to get credit for the session towards your digital badge and your entry into the iPad raffle. If you want to follow up on anything discussed today, email us at cpd@mercy.edu or find your career coach's handshake link on our website. And do me a favor and give us a follow on Instagram. We're pushing out fun, educational content all the time, so don't miss a thing.